Global, a podcast from Noel, Minnesota, where we highlight local and global events and organizations, and where we enter into conversations as Christians and as humans who want to love and serve their communities. I am Lindsey, Communications Coordinator at The Well, and today I have Mark Moffit with me. Mark is a member at The Well, as well as part of a special organization that The Well supports called Mobility Worldwide. Mark, first of all, thank you so much for joining me this morning. I appreciate you hopping on our podcast to chat a little bit. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well.
Good. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Mobility Worldwide and what your current role is in the organization?
Mobility Worldwide is a faith-based, nonprofit, volunteer-run organization, and we build three-wheeled, hand-powered carts, we call them, to replace or in the place of wheelchairs as we know them. Wheelchairs, as we know them over here in the United States, are simply not appropriate for people in emerging economies, in the jungles of Africa, for example, or South America. So what we do is we try to provide mobility to these people who have lost the use of their legs, either through disease or accidents or birth defects, whatever the case may be. Our whole purpose is to provide mobility for people who don't have it.
And now you're currently a volunteer there, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. And what do you take on kind of day to day, week to week with the organization?
Day to day, week to week. First off, our shop is open 2 days a week, Tuesday and Thursday. That's when I obviously go. I go both days most of the time. I'm currently one of the designated shop supervisors at the shop, and all that really means is that I've been there a little bit longer than other people, and if they need a little bit of direction or help, assistance, doing some function or finding some tool or whatever the case may be, I will help and assist them so that we can keep things running smoothly. I also have become, over time, I guess I would call it the primary tractor builder for the carts. We have a workbench that is capable of building 2 tractors at a time. I will work on one station of that bench building tractors and maybe teach someone else next to me on the other station how to build a tractor. So that's what I sort of do on a constant basis. That's my main job, really.
And how long have you been a part of the organization?
A little over 5 years now.
Okay. What brought you initially to it, or how did you first become connected with them?
A friend of mine at our church he and his wife had been missionaries to India for years, and he became aware of it. So he approached me one day at church in between services during the coffee time, if we remember that.
Yes.
And,
it's been a while, but yes.
So he approached me and he said something on the order of, I've discovered something that you might be interested in. And he was aware that I'd gone on some mission trips to Jamaica, and that I had that kind of a missionary's heart, I guess. He approached me and described it a little bit, much as I've already described to you about the 3-wheeled hand-cranked cart, and that's about all he said. And we were building them, constructing them. And so I thought, well, that sounds interesting. And then, I don't know, that same morning, right around the same time, Tom Montgomery probably walked up to us. And so Mark Garrison, our mutual friend, he basically said the same thing. And so the 3 of us started talking. So Tom and I said, well, this sounds pretty interesting. And so all 3 of us later that week or the next week got into a car and drove over to the shop. And we were introduced to the shop manager, we call him, sort of gave us a walk through the shop area and just introduced us to what all the different functions of building were. And then he showed us a video, an introductory video, advertising video, I guess you could call it, of what Mobility Worldwide is and what it does and who receives the product. And that's what hooked me, is when I saw the people receiving the carts. Because literally they went from crawling in the dirt and the gravel on their hands and knees, looking like they're tired and they're working, to climbing up in that cart, and then they get a big grin on their face and they go off down the path.
That's
And
amazing.
that's what hooked me right there. It was just seeing the people receiving the
Absolutely.
cards.
So to expand on that a little bit, tell us what connects you with this ministry. You say, you mentioned you have a missionary's heart, which is just so beautiful. So what brings you the most joy in this, and what keeps you there and keeps you moving forward with it?
The most joy, again, I'll say, is seeing the people receiving their cards because it changes their lives. I
Yeah.
mean, I've seen over the course of 5 years now, I've seen many different photographs and videos of distributions of these carts and the results of the carts in people's lives. Their lives are completely changed. In some countries, a person with a birth defect or a crippling disease is looked upon as a curse, and they're basically condemned
Mhm.
to sitting in their hut all day long, day in and day out, not being able to work, dependent upon everybody else around them, and just sitting there doing nothing all of their lives.
Shunned from society, so to
That's
speak.
exactly right. They're just separated from society. They get this cart, and literally they become independent. They can get a job. I know several stories that I could relate, but one guy converted his cart to a little mobile advertising signboard type
Oh,
thing.
wow.
And so he had advertising on his cart all over it, and he'd drive up and down the village advertising for whatever, and he'd get paid for that. And another person made a snack wagon, I call it, out of his cart. He had shelves for a couple of coolers of cold drinks. He had clips on some racks for snack bags of chips and stuff. And he'd go up and down the village roads, dirt paths, during the lunch hour selling those wares. And he became independently wealthy, he called it.
Yeah.
He was financially independent. I've seen videos where literally an adult man depends on another man or sometimes a woman to pick him up and carry him wherever he needed to go. And you know how just a minute. That dependence upon everybody else just can remove all of your dignity.
Absolutely.
You have no dignity, you're completely, totally dependent, and this little cart, so simple, can change all of that.
Yeah.
And they can become independent, they can move around on their own, they can get a job, they can go to school. There's some more stories about people that couldn't go to school, but now they could, and they were very successful. I mean, these people are not lazy, they're not stupid, they're not any of these negative aspects that many of us in our country have about poorer countries around the equator. And they're very caring for one another. That's another moving thing for me. You can see in these pictures how the people that are receiving the cart are being helped by so many of their friends and family to get from some remote location to a distribution site. And they receive their cart. They're just overjoyed. You can see by the smile, the big grin on their face.
Yeah. And when you say it changes their lives, I mean, it changes every single aspect of their life.
It does.
Wow. Well, Mark, those are amazing stories. I would love to talk to you more about this and get, some of those personal stories. We will have links in the notes here to some of the pictures of people receiving their carts and using their carts. It is so beautiful what you're doing, Mark, and you're really changing the world. And I hope you know how grateful I'm sure they are, how grateful we are to have you as a part of our community doing something so wonderful for people who really, can't help their circumstance. And, to get this gift is just phenomenal. So how can people either find out more about it? How can people become involved if they want or help support this cause?
Well, the primary website is www.mobilityworldwide.org.
Okay.
And that is Mobility Worldwide, one word.
Okay. We will link that in our notes.
Okay. And in that home page, if you will, is for Mobility Worldwide overall. Mm-hmm. Within that, there's a little tab called Affiliates. An affiliate is one of the local shops, such as the one I work at.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go to that affiliates tab, you see the list of affiliates. Look for Minnesota Twin Cities.
Okay.
And you can get into that web page, which is our shop specific.
Okay, great.
With, some pictures of our people working and, some things there. But that's how you can go online and get more information about the organization. Within our church, the Well, anybody obviously can contact myself, Mark Moffit, at church or through the church directory or whatever. Tom Montgomery, Daryl Dilley, Hans Student, and Doc Richardson were all volunteers from our church that support the shop in the Twin Cities. And that's obviously through volunteer work. You can also, and we're overjoyed with this, of course, unlike a company, the more we produce, the more money we need.
Right.
A regular company, the more you produce, the more money you make.
Yeah.
Well, we're all the time asking for more volunteers and to get more work done for all of these multiple thousands, hundreds of thousands of people in the world. And we need money for that. So obviously giving money to Mobility Worldwide is certainly appreciated.
Absolutely.
And in some cases, we've even taken donations of tools and other equipment that we need from time to time to replace things that wear out or break. Any woodworkers or metal workers, that if you have supplies and tools like that, we would certainly consider taking them off your hands.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mark. What a great story. And I love hearing, I can hear in your voice how connected you are to this and how emotional it makes you to see some of these people just get a second chance at life because you're now giving them mobility. And that's so amazing. And it's inspiring for me. I hope it's just as inspiring to our listeners and to our viewers. So thank you again so much for joining us. We will include all of this information, like I said, in the notes. And again, subscribe to this podcast. You can find us on any of your favorite podcast apps, or you can find us on the website or on our YouTube. Thank you again, Mark. Have a fantastic day.
You too. Thank you.